Hey everybody, Real with Wes, day 5, final day of this week. Hope you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving yesterday. I had a great time with my wife and her family and some other extended family. It was a pleasure to see them and awesome. We had a great time. But let's just jump right in this thing. So we're talking about choosing love. Now, here's the thing when you talk about really, truly choosing love. Let's talk about some of the practical things. There's going to be this part of There's two things that's going to drive you here. Either you can be driven by the love of God or you can be driven by fear. And every day, all throughout your day, you have to pick which one's really going to take the steering wheel. Now, how do you do that, though? The biggest thing I wanted to center up today, there's a lot of things. I don't want to get too many different things. I like to keep these simple, is what I do, and just give you something practical. You got to be honest with yourself. That's tough. That's tough to face. You got to be honest with yourself. And how do we do this? I've talked about things like this before. What really drives that self-centeredness, by the way, that causes you to choose it? It's fear. And it's so hard. It's so hard in the world we live to admit we are afraid. We have a very strong religious background. We have our own teachings and our own word of faith and everything that sometimes can be so detrimental to feeling like we can admit we're afraid. Because we're taught we shouldn't be afraid. We shouldn't be afraid. That's not in its origin. It's good. In its application, it can be very problematic. Now, if you hear traffic going around, hey, welcome to Call It Real with us for a minute, where I'm out in the street here, out and about today. But I always keep thinking of you guys, coming about at you guys. But back to that point, it teaches you, well, we can't even admit we're afraid. Well, faith is never lying to yourself. That's not faith. Faith is trusting in God, but it's never denial. Every day, I'll tell you my personal life, every day I have to resist fear. I have to make a choice, and I don't always do it. And it may be in the little decisions. Sometimes I let fear hijack my moment, and I get the anger, I get the emotion, I get the panic, I get the worry. I get all those things each and every day. You do too, if you get honest with yourself. You're like, I'm perfectly faith, I perfectly got that. That's not being honest with yourself. Because why? There's this never-ending journey with God you go on to try to master these things. And knowing that you'll never fully 100% arrive, but you make this quality decision that I will not let fear run every day of my life. Because you're going to be miserable. You're going to be the most self-centered, angry, bitter, twisted, messed up person if you let that happen. But if you choose to say, you know what? I'm afraid in this moment. I'm afraid of what someone might think to me, so I'm over-projecting. I'm afraid, and why I'm yelling at traffic and everything else. I'm afraid somebody's going to come up and hit me, or I'm going to be late for work, so I'm mad, blowing the horn behind the wheel. I'm afraid. And when you can say that for a moment, you can go back and say, is my fear really realistic? Am I getting worked up over something that's a reality or my perception? And it gives you a moment to shift that perception off fear and look at it from love and move forward differently. You got a problem. You're upset about your finances. What are you afraid of? I may not be able to pay rent. Well, that's a real fear. I may not be able to pay my bills. That's a real fear. I'm running short this week. The lights may get cut off. The heat may in the middle of winter. That's a real fear. But then you have to say, okay, I'm feeling afraid of these things. All right, now let me not project all that. Let me resist that for a moment and choose love for a moment here, and not be biting off everybody's head, not be beating myself up. Because the other thing, you'll be like, well, I overspent my money, I did this, I did that, I should have done this. None of that's relevant. In the moment you write this decision, and in that moment when you choose love, you say, God, you got me. God, it's not my strength, it's not my ability. I humble myself, I get rid of the pride, I submit to you and say, lead me, God, I need you. And in that moment, your peace comes back. You take a deep breath, and in that moment, I promise you, you're going to have that intuitive voice, the voice of God, show you the way. Every time, show you the way. And it may not go perfect. It may be a mistake you made, and you may have an opportunity to learn and grow from it. Don't be so upset about that either. But you'll find your way to move forward. And you can do it without ripping everybody's head off, basically, verbally and everything else and all this other energy. And you can keep harmony in the midst of even chaos going around you. You don't have to let what's going on around you get all in you and mess you up. But it's getting honest. Back to my end point, and I'm going to close up right here. It's getting honest with yourself. You're afraid. and then locating what am I afraid of? Okay, my fear is leading me to self-centeredness where I'm making it all about me and I'm focused all on me. Because if you're all focused on you, you can't even focus on God at all. You can't focus on the people around you. But more importantly, you can't focus on him, and that's your answer. That's what fear wants to get you. Fear wants to get you all worked up, all distracted, all in self, all in me, so you can't even focus on the real answer, which is him. And every time, I promise you, God will lead you through it. Life is messy, the world is messy, but God is greater than all that, and he'll lead you through the ups and downs of life. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Get honest with yourself. It's okay. And you'll feel a lot better after you do that, by the way, and you'll stop letting fear run the show, and you'll choose love. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Hey, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. virtual service. Tune in, World Changers Church, New York. YouTube page, Facebook page, still talking about hope fillers, hope killers. Want you guys to live in hope. It's going to be a life-changing word. So I encourage you to tune in, and then I'll be back here next Monday. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.